Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to see how we can create a checkbox that selects all the checkboxes below it when you check it, just as we see over here. And when you uncheck even one of the checkboxes below it, the main checkbox is also unchecked. This is very simple to do. We are going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you're new to this channel and you're interested in understanding the core concepts of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that is exactly what I do here. So I'll urge you to hit the subscribe button so you can be part of us. And leave a like on this video if it helps you out. Now let's get into it. In the body of the HTML document, first create a div section with a class name of wrapper. And in this wrapper div, we add a label element. And inside the label element, we have an input with a type of checkbox. And the ID of this checkbox should be select all. Now the label here will have a class name of main label and an inner text of select all. Now below the label, we add a div section with the class name of checkboxes. And in this checkboxes div, we add the label element. Inside this label, we'll have an input again with the type of checkbox. And this checkbox should have a class name of item and an inner text for the label of check 1. Now copy and paste these 3 additional times so we can have 4 checkboxes in the checkbox div. And we change the inner text for the second one to check 2, the third to check 3, and the fourth to check 4. And this is all we need for the markup. Now in the CSS file, we'll add some styles. First, we select the body and change the background to a black background. And the text color, we change it to white. Now set the display of the body to flex. And set the justify content to center. And add a padding to the top. Next, we start the wrapper div. So with the wrapper class name, we add a border of 5 pixels, solid, and a golden color. Then add a padding of 20 pixels for the vertical and 0 for the horizontal. Now the width of this wrapper div should be 350 pixels. Now set the display to flex and the flex direction to column. Now set the align items to center to centrally place everything and a gap between the items of 20 pixels. Now we start all the labels. So we select all the labels with the label name and set display to flex. Now align items, center, and add a gap between of 10 pixels. Now when the mouse over it, we want a human hand, so set the cursor to pointer, just as we see over here. Now we increase the size by setting the font size to 1.5 EM. And when you click on it too much, you don't want to select the label, so set the user select to none, just as we see. Now increase the size of this main label here. So the class name main label, increase the size to 2 EM to distinguish it from the remaining checkboxes. Now let's start input the type of checkbox. Now we want to remove the default appearance of our input field. So we set the appearance to none. And also for some web browsers that do not support this rule, like Safari, we add the WebKit appearance and set it to none. Now we can add our own styles for how we want our checkbox to look like. We set the width to 22 pixels and the height also to 22 pixels. Then we add a border of 2 pixels solid and the golden color. Now add a border radius to rounding the corner of 4 pixels. Then remove all outlines. Now when you hover over it, you want a human hand. So set the cursor to pointer, just as we have over here. You set the position to relative because you want to attach something to it. It will come later in the video. Now when the input field is checked, so when it's checked, use the checked pseudo class, change the background color to the golden color. Just as we see over here. Now again, when the input field is checked, we want to add a tick or a correct mark. So use the after pseudo element to add an element to it. So the content of this pseudo element, you press on the window key and the period character to go to the emoji section if you are using the Windows laptop. So select the check mark over here to be the content of our pseudo class. And it appears over here when you check it. Now let's position it. So set the position to absolute. And because we initially set the position of the input field to relative, our check mark will stick to our input field. Now the top positioning should be -2 pixels. And the left positioning should be 2 pixels. Then we increase the size, set the font size to 1.1 em and bolden it by setting the font weight to bold. And we go back into the checkbox declaration field and add a transition of 0.3 seconds so that when you check it, it will transition smoothly as we see over here. Now that's it for the CSS or the styling. So in the JavaScript file, we'll add some functionality. Now the first thing we'll do is to grab all these checkboxes and assign them to variables. So first we'll grab this main checkbox over here by the ID name and assign it to a variable. And then we'll grab all these checkboxes below here and make them a node list and assign them to just one variable here with a class name. Then we select the checkboxes below with the ID name of item, and we use an identifier for the variable of items for the whole node list. And we use the query selector or to grab all of these checkboxes and assign them to this items variable. With the class name, so add a dot prefix to the class name to grab all these checkboxes. Then now we want to toggle all these checkboxes when you check the first checkbox over here. So we add an event listener to the select all checkbox. And the event is change. So either this is checked or unchecked. We want to do something or execute a function. So we use the arrow function to do that. Now, since this items variable here is a node list containing all these checkboxes, we want to iterate them one after the other. So with the items variable name, we use it for each keyword to iterate, to do the iteration. And after doing each iteration, we assign the checkboxes to an identifier of item. After doing the iteration and assigning it to the identifier item, we do something. So we make sure that the check status of these checkboxes align with the check status of this select all checkbox. So the item dot checked equals the select all dot checked. Now when we check this select all these checkboxes are also checked. So the first part is done. Now the last part is that when you uncheck even one of these, we want to uncheck the whole select all checkbox because we've not selected all. So again, we'll iterate all these checkboxes below. So in my items variable name, use it for each keyword and iterate all the items inside it and give them an identifier of item. After doing that, we want to do something else. So after iterating all these checkboxes and giving them an identifier of item, then we want to add an event to all these checkboxes that have an identifier of item. So with the item, we add an event listener. And the event again is change. So whether they are checked or unchecked, we again do something with the arrow function. Now, after iterating all these items and giving them an identifier of item, we add an event listener change to it. So whether it is checked or unchecked, then we do something. So what do? We check if all of them have been checked, and we use this if statement. Now we convert this node list into an array with this syntax. And then we check every element of it or every item inside the array. And we give them an identifier this time of I. After giving them an identifier of I, then we check if it is checked. So what this line will do is it will check if every item here has been checked. Now what we want to do is to check if not all of them have been checked. So we negate it with a not operator here. So if not all of them have been checked, that means at least one of them have been unchecked. Then we get the select all variable name, which targets the select all checkbox here. And we change the check status to false because not all of them have been selected. Now use the else statement, and else if all of these have been selected or have been checked, then we update the checked status of the selector checkbox to true so that it can be checked. Now let's try and see if it works. So we select the select all checkbox. Everything here gets checked. Now when we deselect it, everything gets unchecked. Now when we uncheck even one of these, the selector gets unchecked also. And when we check it, everything here gets checked. So our code works. So yeah, that's how to create a select all checkbox with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I hope this video helped you out. And if it did, I'll urge you to leave a like on this video. And see you in the next tutorial.